Guys, all right. If you guys want to go ahead and take a seat, we'll be getting started here in just a minute. Got all quiet there. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. I'm Jeremy Bauman. I'm just one of many volunteers here, helping with Wings and Things through Men of Hope. So thank you so much for taking the time to come out. And we're here for our guest tonight, the main attraction, so to speak. So I met Soni, a couple of friends and I, shameless plug, a podcast, Big Shots with Jeremy Bauman and Friends. Check it out. But I met Soni by sending him a note on Instagram, which is funny about being on the podcast, just blindly because I'm a big Hootie fan. Rather than messaging me back through Instagram, he sends me an email and is actually sitting with a couple of people. And when we got this email, I'm like, that's super funny. He goes, I'm not too sure of tech and how this works. I didn't want everybody to see it, so I sent you an email, which I thought was kind of funny, Soni. So thank you. But he's a great dude. He is the drummer for the greatest band in the world, Hootie and the Blowfish. It's a fact. Look it up.
I agree. You're right.
Yeah. His band's album, Correct Your View, is the 10th best-selling album of all time with an astonishing 21 million albums sold. He's also a songwriter for this Grammy Award-winning band. He's written several songs, including the eternally popular Hold My Hand. And after a battle with drugs and alcohol for several years, he had a spiritual awakening in 2004, became a fully devoted follower of Jesus, got sober, and has since released a few solo albums of his own. In addition to touring with this record-breaking band, he's sharing his story here at Hope and also various places around the Southeast through a ministry called Celebrate Recovery, which he spoke at last night, if any of you were here. But he resides in South Carolina with his lovely wife, Laura. Met her. She's fantastic. And they have a blended family of 5. And the last thing I want to share about Soni, this just says a lot about his character. When, after the podcast, and this is probably this summer sometime, we talked about bringing him out here for Wings and Things. He's like, yeah, man, that sounds cool. And so he goes, let me think about that, and I'll get back with you. And we talked now a couple days later. And I'm like, so what's it going to take? And he goes, he said, God has given me so much freedom and so much joy. He goes, I just want to be able to share that with others. So if you can just cover travel expenses for my wife and I, then we'll come. So I think that says a lot about who he is, because I know that a lot of people of his caliber would charge a lot of money to come here, and he was just so gracious to donate his time and come down and see us. So
Thanks, Jeremy.
Without further ado, Jim Soni Sonefeld.
Thanks, Jeremy. The great thing is the private jet only costs $42,000. That's a bargain, really, these days, gas prices and whatnot. Y'all, so glad to be here. It's a rarity that I get to stand on the same stage 2 nights in a row and not have to take a plane somewhere else or drive somewhere else. So this is a kind of a nice thing to get back up here and interact with you guys tonight. I'll be out afterwards in the lobby peddling my books. Jeremy said I could sell the 305-page version of what I'll tell you tonight, and hope you can stop by and say hi at least. But real glad to be here. I come from Columbia, South Carolina. As Jeremy mentioned, I've been in a band called Hootie and the Blowfish for 30-some years, and have been blessed by that and many other things that I'll tell you about along the way. I like to use music. I think it has a special power, a unique power to send a message. It affected me as a child and into my adulthood, and as I turned from writing pop songs to contemporary Christian, it was the contemporary Christian music that spoke to me when even Bible verses wouldn't. It was a more powerful thing, and it brought me to the Bible, and so I'm thankful. I sing a little bit about that tonight, and I come from Columbia. It's a long ways away, but I want to tell you that I've had my most sort of spiritual growth in the last 8 years with a group called Men at Work. It's a bunch of guys that we sit around, we work better to understand our unique wiring and how much better our wiring is than the female species, right? Not really, just different. We work to better understand others as a result. We are a bunch of guys from different places that normally wouldn't hang out, but we want to spiritually grow, so we call ourselves Men at Work because it is work. We're not specially gifted with our ability to communicate always. We don't like to talk about feelings and emotions naturally, but when we get around a group of people that's safe, and in the case of my group, anonymous, it's a darn good place. But let's laugh before you laugh at me for 40 minutes or 30 minutes. I'll give a little joke to get you guys going. So there's a guy, he's a pilot. They've just taken off, big plane, heading far away, and he gets over the loudspeakers just a few minutes later and says, hey, God, I got some bad news. Here we are zipping out here, and we lost the radar to the place where we're going. So we really don't know where we're going. That's terrible. He goes, but the good news is we're making great time. I only say that to say that to some degree was me for many years of my life. You know, racing through, powering through, a lot of energy, a lot of vitality, a lot of things I wanted, life, goals, just firing out there, not so concerned with exactly how I was doing it or exactly where I was heading, if it was the right place, more consumed with how fast I was getting to this imaginary, dreamy place. And I used that for a long time. I had some gifts. I had some self-will, some strong self-will. I had a good work ethic. My parents taught me that. I had some intellect, though if it takes, me 6 years to gain a 4-year degree at the University of South Carolina, I don't know how much intellect. It worked for me, it just was slow. I had a few skills, a few assets. I had a creative spirit. I could manage to read a couple books enough to get me through a few levels of college, and I had some privilege too, if I'm honest. I had some things that other people were not gifted or given. We weren't rich, we were middle class, and we worked hard for everything, and we always had jobs as kids, and our parents barely got by, but they fed us, they loved us. But there are some privileges I've gotten in life that I say that I acknowledge them because some people don't have them through either oppression or prejudice or sometimes even unluck. But I've been privileged, and I'm thankful that I've been able to even get up here at age 58 to share with you guys today. But, through all that, I worked hard, heading towards, big business plans and career achievements and, sports triumphs through the years that I could actually do those things. Relational goals, a family and kids, hopefully, and a lot of material desires as well. I wanted things, right? Things look good, they're shiny, when you get them, you can show your friends. And I had all these things I was moving towards, but there's really nothing wrong with any of that. Those things can be satisfying. We're here to live a happy life, hopefully. So I don't say there's anything wrong with any of those things I listed, but I had one main problem is that I was missing the important facet of all this, which was a light, a beacon, I'll call it, a God, sometimes we call it, a spiritual beacon in the distance. And perhaps if we're in an ocean in this picture, it's there, bobbing and weaving, and I can keep my eye on it. I know that's where I'm headed. And when I get off course, it's okay, because we don't all live a perfectly straight life. We get off course. As long as I can see that spiritual beacon in the distance, I know I'm at least going towards the right thing. And I may choose some strange ways to go this way and that way, but if I can see it, I'm going to get there. And I was missing that spiritual beacon. I wasn't too satisfied with my religious upbringing. I fought at it. I defied it. I was a little thrill-seeking snot. I used lying to get my ways, and it wasn't great. So a spiritual beacon for me didn't make any sense. I just had things I wanted. So a spiritual beacon ends up being to know oneself. And this is what I've discovered through a lot of living. To know oneself honestly and to be able to display that same self to other people. Instead of playing the game of, here's who I want you to see, here's the version of you I'd like you to acknowledge, when really there's some guy in this suit who's not a great guy, or maybe who's doing a little lying, cheating, and stealing on the side. To know oneself honestly, to display that same self, to know God, or to know love, to know what it is and its value. And then the proper relationship between those two things, between self and God, so we don't play him. So, have a good night. The end. I bob around as a youth, and I'm, out there in the ocean, dreaming, fighting, clawing away, doing the best I can with the few gifts I had. And so, here's to any of you that might be in that ocean, bobbing around. It's a song called Unafraid. It's about having some courage, and maybe we need it from others. Maybe we need it from hope we see, mentors that we see succeeding. But to you that may be entering a new journey in life, maybe you're on the precipice of making some hard decisions. Maybe you've just come through the grinder of a difficult decision, a divorce, a breakup, a job loss. There's a lot out there that can weigh heavy. But I wrote this song recently, and it's a fight song for me. It's to say, I want to win, and I can win, and I'm going to have the courage to do some difficult things to get there. It's called Unafraid. I hid behind walls I thought I'd never climb. Stood in the dark, hands over my eyes. Watched the world take hold of what could have been mine. I was too afraid. I let this crazy old world knock me to the ground. All the times I failed, they tried to keep me down. But I got up just to go another round, saying not today. What will I gain if I don't try to find the truth beneath the lie? I'm gonna fight this fear and choose to stay. I'm gonna live my life this way, unafraid, unafraid. I'm gonna live my life this way, unafraid. Amen. I tried to be so perfect, keeping up with my pride. But what's it all worth if it's just a big disguise? The picture gets a little more real when you get outside the lines. What will I gain if I don't try to find the truth beneath the lies? I'm gonna fight this fear and choose to stay. I'm gonna live my life this way, unafraid, unafraid. I'm gonna live my life this way, unafraid. What will I gain if I don't try to find the truth? Oh, those little lies. I'll fight this fear and choose to stay. I'm gonna live my life this way, unafraid, unafraid. I'm gonna live my life this way, unafraid. Well, thank you. So, unafraid, fearless, moving forward. I didn't have a lot of it. As I said at the beginning, I just had a fight in me and I wanted to go somewhere fast. So I get into high school, have a weird thing happen, right before my freshman year, I find myself in front of kids that are 14 years old, openly using drugs and alcohol. And I think, well, that looks great. And they seem to be having a lot of fun. And though my parents and the priests and the police that knew my older brother so well had always told me that's for 21-year-olds, it's dangerous, drugs can kill you. There was nothing to stop me when I saw it happening. So I began dabbling the experiment of what I could put in my body to make me feel a little different, because I was chasing some defiant spirit, some rebellion, and I got a thrill out of it. I graduate in 4 years. It's a roller coaster. It's up and down. I have some consequences as a result of some of the people I'm hanging with and the things that we're doing. But I get to go 800 miles away from Chicago, where I was raised, to Columbia, South Carolina, to attend the University of South Carolina. I've got a soccer dream. I want to play 4 years of Division I ball. I was the only player taken as a walk-on in 1983, and I was thrilled. And that was my dream. Soccer, soccer, soccer. Books second, girls third. No, actually, girls second, books third. Why would I say that? Thrill-seeking, fun, serving myself. My beacon is soccer at this point, as I said. And since there's no beacon that's spiritual off in the distance to guide me, I'm not only going sideways by failing out my freshman year, but backwards, back home, the failed athlete who's gone off for a big, chance at college sports and comes back looking like a loser. So I went backwards, managed to get back in school, play for 2 more years. It's going well. We have a great team, but I'm frustrated with the conformity. I'm frustrated with having authority figures. So I tell my friends and my parents and my coaches, I'm taking a gap year. Famous last words. I work at the State Mental Institution. I'm happy to be working. I join a cruddy alternative band who also likes to party, and we spend a year trying to write great songs. I'm not sure if we did that very well. I decide that the workforce is not for me. I get back in school, so I'm moving around laterally. I'm not staring at anything in the distance besides maybe now finishing my 4th year of eligibility for soccer. I get back on the team, but that's only a year. My soccer dream is done. I'm left with, a mullet, short shorts. It's still 87. There's not much going on, but music is beating in my heart. Eventually, I join another band and manage 2 years more of school and a college degree. And I meet these guys. They call themselves Hootie and the Blowfish. And I think, that's the stupidest name I've ever heard. The joke was I'd come from a band called Tootie and the Jones. So who am I to talk? We have a lot in common. We want to write songs. We want to dream. We want to race fast up that superhighway of rock and roll music success. We've got a few skills. We're willing to work hard, get paid little. We buy a cheap van. We start booking shows. We're gifted with a great singer, but Darius Rucker didn't know anything about songwriting, just like me and Mark and Dean. We made it up as we went along. Spent a good 5 years in clubs. Started in 89. It became 90, 91. The parents start asking, where's that degree we paid for? It was under the bed rolled up, but we were working hard and moving fast. 92 becomes 93. Our crowd's getting a little bigger. 94 comes around. And I'm frankly enjoying every bit of 5 years of living in clubs. And we worked day jobs for about 4 of those years. We were burning the candle at both ends. But I like something about being in a town and having a big party and maybe some regrets and being able to leave that same town. And I always thought, I'm leaving the regret too. I'm leaving me getting too drunk, me having a bad relationship, me having something stupid happen. I drive away to a new town and it goes away. Except that's not how life works. I continued to carry some shame, some guilt, looking over my shoulder at who was going to come get me that I might have hurt. But I enjoyed the ride, and we all did. A crazy thing happens after 5 years. We get signed to a record deal by Atlantic Records, and the dream is coming true. We can't believe it. We've worked hard, but things quickly changed by a television show called Late Night with David Letterman, where our song, which Jeremy mentioned, called Hold My Hand, is piped into the living rooms of about 5 million viewers in the fall of '94. It changed our trajectory and our careers and our lives really forever. And there was fame, there was fortune. We got to travel the world. We got to do some amazing things that were not regrettable, playing to tons of fans who were inspired by our music, going overseas to play for foreign audiences, playing for our troops in the Middle East, Europe, Southeast Asia. It was an amazing ride, and fame doesn't actually end up being the thing that knocks me down, because fame is just fame. You get to put a few bucks away, and you get to have the approval of others. I liked that. My ego certainly got fed. I liked being liked, and it made me think I'm a pretty darn good guy because I've got a few awards. Society tells me if I've got a bank account and a house and a car and I've started a family that I can check off those things that say, you're good, right? This guy's a good guy. But behind the scenes, after the fame and fortune had peaked and the ride down, the inevitable ride back down that we sometimes have in many careers, but the entertainment one is a little brutal. You get used to having your picture plastered all over and fans cheering, and then suddenly you're obsessing over the empty seats in the arena that used to be sold out. The lines aren't so long, the album sales are shrinking, and I don't know how to deal with it at this point. So I'd worked hard. By the end of the 90s or the millennium, I was having to face the truth that that career, the beacon that I had put out there, Hootie and the Blowfish, wasn't working so well. It was a great ride, but the ride was looking like it might be over. So I started trying this other way of feeling better, the way I always had during the celebratory years. Champagne, a cold beer, maybe some drugs to alter your mind a little bit when you're feeling lonely or tired. And that thing that just seemed to be part of the celebration for years was now becoming part of a numbing situation. I didn't like the career going down. I was struggling with the fear of starting a family, though I wanted a family. I had stress in my life that I didn't know what to do with. I started using alcohol and drugs medicinally, self-prescribed, of course. No doctor's notes for that. And it starts getting darker and darker. It was troubling, but as a man, I knew I got this, right? I think we're taught that at birth sometimes. I just heard it out in one of the breakout sessions. We're told, you just keep fighting. You don't need others. You don't need to need others. You fight hard and you take care of your stuff. So I thought that was the way, and that was what society had mostly told me, but now I was stuck. 2001 turned to 2002, the interventions start. I start suffering. It's not feeling good. I get intervened a lot. A second child comes around. The marriage isn't going too good. More empty seats. Now we don't have a record label. They've dumped us. It's not looking great. And all I know what to do is to fight and say, I got this. I don't need your help. Stop intervening me. Stop telling me how I'm screwing up. Tell me something that's useful. And, difficult times and suffering can lead, facing battles can lead to building character. That's what the Bible tells us. We go through these hard times. We get closer to God, right? We build character. But mine wasn't being built during these years of difficulty. I'm afraid to say it was being revealed, certainly. People were seeing who I was, and I was turning out to be, easy to read, prone to temper tantrums, prone to not getting my way, flying off the handle, worrying people around me because I couldn't be found, or if I was found, I wasn't in great shape. And so, while it's nice to think that difficult times and suffering build character, I'm here to tell you it will first reveal it. So I go down. I got an intervention that I missed. I found a dressing room split in two, imagine, by a curtain. On one side is a couple of our crew members talking about someone they're worried about. They haven't heard that I've come in the other side. And I'm listening to their dramatic conversation. They're worried about this guy. He's out doing bad things. They're worried about who he's hanging out with. Somebody's got to talk to him. And I think with my inflated ego, maybe I should help this poor soul. And as their next sentence falls out of their mouth and they say, somebody's got to talk to Jim, my heart drops because they're talking about me. And less of a worry that I'd hurt somebody or scared them was that they had found me out, that they thought I needed help. My ego had taken a blow. My pride that I had my life together had taken a blow. And I backed out of that room and tiptoed away, not revealing myself, not saying, you got me. I need your help. I need a group to help me through life. It got more confusing, more frustrating, as a life of addiction will. In 2004, a miracle comes. God knocks. Maybe God's knocked for you. Maybe you're already there. Maybe he's knocked years ago and you're right there with him, leading a prosperous spiritual life with him as your beacon. Amen to you, man, if you're there. In 2004, I was not. Denial, rationalization, confusion, and God comes through others, I think, on this morning in November of 2004 through my 4-year-old daughter. I had stayed up late saying I was writing songs, but really I was watering myself with bourbon and whatever else was in my fully stocked bar. I passed out late. She had come running up the steps to my detached studio I had built for myself, detached literally from our home, but I think spiritually and figuratively from my own family, I'm afraid. And she came up to see what I was doing. 10:30 on a Sunday morning, don't know where I could have been, maybe church. And she popped on my chest and said the 4 words that altered my course because they simultaneously made me think and shut me up at the same time. She said, Dad, what are you doing? And she looked so cute. She was innocent, pure. She just meant, what are you doing out here? Why aren't you inside with Mom and little Mason, having fun, watching cartoons, picking our noses, eating bacon, having a blast? What are you doing, Dad? She got frustrated and jumped off and ran back in, and I said, wow, what am I doing? What am I doing? It became a question for myself. I'm the first person that had to answer that. What am I doing? And I didn't know. I had an intuition I was under the control of bad thinking, bad ideas, self-will run riot, drugs, alcohol, bad relational decisions leading to bad regrets, but I didn't know where to go. I was forced by this moment of clarity into accepting I needed a change. So what do you know? In a great coincidence, I've written a song called Change. Where's the drummer to go? Put in, psh. Again, the power of music. Understanding that facing God is difficult. Being self-honest, maybe even more difficult because you're stuck with yourself wherever you go. As an older man, I wrote this song called Change. It's on the last Hootie and the Blowfish album. And I had to go through some change. What I realized beginning with this day as a 40-year-old man who seemed to have a lot but didn't have the one thing that he needed, a spiritual beacon, I learned through the years the one consistent thing I had to face was change. And maybe you're there in a job, a marriage, self-doubt. Lots of things can burden us. When you get changed, it's not all bad, but when you're in that first transition, trying to acknowledge whether you can actually do it or not, it's a bear. So I'm going to sing a song called Change. How can I pretend that from the start until the end. I'll get to keep the things I love, no matter how I plan. My world keeps shifting like the sands, and when I try to hold on, it all just slips away. So I pile my expectations. The winds of change come in and blow them down. And as I grow old, one thing stays the same. Always waiting there to greet me is change. The kids have grown, you can't turn back the clock, I know. I wish that time could just stand still. I find a chapter in my life, good friends, a home I really like, but I can't stop the pages as they begin to turn. So I pile my inspiration, but like a candle, the flame gets blown away. And as I grow old, one thing stays the same. Always waiting there to greet me is change. And I wish I had more time. I wish that I could see your smile. And out on that road alone, I wish that I could stay home a while. And as I grow old, one thing stays the same. Always waiting there to meet me is change. Always waiting there to meet me, trying so damn hard to beat me. Always waiting there to greet me is change. Oh no. Thank y'all. So there's change staring at me. Who loves it? Not me. My discovery is I'm under the control of something else, as I mentioned. It's handling me. I can't handle it. I'm understanding that I'm powerless over it, as I learned from some of the meetings I started going to. But that there is a power that's greater than me that can restore me to sanity. So I say, I'm powerless. There's a power that I can tap into. I think I'll get in touch. So I start a journey. I find a group. They suggest a few things. First, making sure I know I'm not God. And that was a little trick because I didn't realize how much I was playing God, trying to control everything in my life, trying to make you do what I needed you to do, to make what I needed to do easier. Playing God. They said, don't do that. They said, get in a group, get in a circle. Find some people around you you can communicate with, learn from. Again, not my gift as a man. I don't feel good acknowledging my deep feelings. But I sat in front of guys that were practicing a wonderful thing called the power of transparency. It's what we do at Celebrate Recovery. It's what we do in AA and a lot of other places where we sit down and we talk about stuff and we get honest. And when I see others being honest, it's encouraging. It's intriguing. I end up wanting it, and I'm not afraid of it. My pride sits down for a minute and says, he just told some stuff about himself that he needed to get off his chest that was difficult and maybe deviant or just downright bad. I can do that, and I need to do it. I need to get it up. I get honest in this group. start doing the things I'm not natural at, talking, I discover there's a great gift to what they're telling me I need to do, which is called practicing rigorous honesty and a personal inventory. Now, if you run a business, I'm sure there's some of you out there that run a business. You're not a good business if you can't do a regular inventory. We look at what's on our shelves, what has value, and what has no value. We chuck out the stuff that's not valuable, or at least put it on sale. And we keep the things that are valuable. So they asked me to do a thorough, searching, fearless, moral inventory. I got honest. I wrote it down, wrote it out, and what I found was something way more important to me than any of the things that I would have called strengths in my life, right? We're men. We're told to fight hard, be strong, lead. Don't let them see you down. We keep thinking we got to be this strong guy, but what I found out through this inventory, writing it out, my flaws, my resentments, my real angers, my real truths, I find these things out about me. I have character defects. I want to win. I want to be right. I'm afraid to fail. I practice self-pity, blame. I'm lustful. I'm lazy. I have all these things that I have, these liabilities that I didn't ever want to admit, so I didn't know they existed. But it's showing me what my obstacles are. And when we're going out there in life and we're trying to get forward, what's more important? Thinking you're strong, thinking you can't be beat or can't show your feelings, or knowing the obstacle course ahead of time? I mean, I was 40. I didn't want to have to learn all these obstacles that was me on the inside. Pride, fear, all this anger. But it was the most helpful thing I've ever learned to this day. I'm 58. Learn the obstacle course. Get in front of a group that can help you discover what those flaws are so you can best avoid them. In getting in this group, I start practicing a Bible verse I never liked. I was always afraid of, James 5:16. I get in front of a group, an anonymous group, or at least a safe group, and we confess. We share our deep stuff. We pray for each other. I learned to pray at this point in my life as an old man. Pray sincerely. James 5:16, we confess, we pray for one another, and we receive healing. And I tell you, that's what I needed, and that's what we all need. You may not know your brokenness today until you dig down and look at it clearly. So I started experiencing this thing called healing in these groups of men. They suggested I go out after I've learned my flaws, taken it to God, working with a sponsor, an accountable sort of mentor. They suggest I make amends. Go out there and make amends. Amend is mending something I broke to all the people I'd harmed. Again, something I wanted to do? Not really. Something I needed to do because as an addict, my life depended on it. To go back to drinking and to not heal myself is to go back to dying. So I go out and I make the amends. It's not to be a doormat and to beg for forgiveness. It's not that. It's to make right what you were wrong with, to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I was out of line, I hurt you, and now I'm trying to make it right. Sometimes it's a financial amend, but we need to clear that stuff up. So I made out all those difficult amends. I started practicing how I practice a spiritual recovery, honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. You know, we have to remember, I heard a great quote just a few years ago that our minds work much like a parachute. They work better when opened. So we need to dig down and realize as much as we want to think we know it all and that we're strong and that we got it, I got this. How many times did I say that? We need to consider we might not. We might need a teacher. What's better than admitting you're still coachable at 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60? So I started learning a few lessons. Started realizing that the richest man was not the one who had the most, which is what I would have thought for many years. A few trophies, a few accolades, a bank account, material goods. The richest man doesn't have the most. The richest man needs the least. And through my recovery and my spiritual healing, I started to realize I don't need stuff. I need good relationships. I need to get that beacon and start heading towards it, that spiritual beacon called God. I heard a few guys talking one day, and it cracked me up because I think I've got all these problems, right? I've done some hard work to find my spiritual malady, and I think my problems are quite unique. Oh, I've been in a band, I was big, and now we're small, and it's so hard, and I'm an alcoholic, and it's so difficult, but my problems aren't any different than anybody sitting in this room. We're humans. Pride, fear, anger, impatience, intolerance, we all suffer from this stuff. And this guy standing in front of us having a conversation to me said, you think my problems are bad? You ought to see my solutions. Because it ain't my problems, and it ain't your problems, because we all got them. It's our solutions. And getting in a group of men, my Men at Work group, or even tonight speaking with some gentlemen, we figure out the better solutions, because the problems don't really go away. We're here on life, and it's kind of hard as hell at times, right? So here's my CR pitch. I don't think that anybody here or know anybody here to be addicted or afflicted especially, but we have this thing called Celebrate Recovery. It's at this church and many more. I go to them all the time, and we visit, and it's not for just addicts or alcoholics. It's for a variety of hurts, hang-ups, and habits. And if you tell me you don't have any one of those, I might call you on it, because we all got hurts. We all get hung up on stuff. We're men. We don't want to talk about it. Of course we're hung up on it. Habits, maybe you got some, but acknowledging them in a safe, anonymous group is how we deal with it. Maybe you're just dealing with some unnecessary baggage you've been dragging around for years. It doesn't feel like it's heavy, but it ain't getting lighter, right? We got to resolve relationships. So maybe you have some unresolved. That aunt, that uncle, that parent, that sibling who you haven't talked to in a while. It feels better resolving them so you don't have to carry it around. Maybe you got some idols blocking you from God. Maybe there's just something in front of you that's become bigger than God. Celebrate Recovery is a great place to go. Safe, anonymous. You don't need to be addicted, but they have healing. They practice that James 5. They confess. They admit. They share transparency. They're accessible. And we get to heal. So, my last bit, the Serenity Prayer. It's what we say every night at places like Celebrate Recovery. It's a little tool I've used. And if you use it, you're probably blessed. It helps me with the difficulties of life, because my problem mainly is I try and take things on that aren't my job to take on, and then I don't want to take on things that should be my responsibility, or I get them confused. I end up in the wrong lanes. I end up fighting things that aren't my battle. So the Serenity Prayer, God, grant me the serenity, grant me the peace, the ability to accept things I cannot change. There's one big lane. Things I cannot change. And I'm telling you, besides my attitude and my own actions, everything is in that category. Most of the things out there I can't change. I won't have to drive a mile from here before I find somebody that's pissed me off on the road by driving the way I don't want them to drive. I tried to change that guy for years with beautiful gestures that didn't include all of my fingers. Slamming on brakes, revving up, riding in the median. It ain't pretty. I can't control that. The Serenity Prayer tells me, God, help me organize the things I can't change. I can't change my wife. I love her to death, but she is who she is. I could maybe be an example for a behavior I'd like her to have, but I can't change her. She's in that same category. Friends around me that frustrate me, I can't change them. The government, I might get a vote, but why walk around all day mad at them? I can't vote in Iowa. I can't vote in 49 states. But if I get on the internet, I can get really angry about things in the government that I can't change. I got to put it in that category. God, help me to accept the things I can't change. The other category, give me the courage to change the things I can. And everything else is there. And every day I say that prayer. I need to know. I need to organize these things. You get peace when that happens. I ask God to just give me the wisdom to organize that, to to know the difference between those two things. So, I'm going to sing one more song real quick. Thank you for being here tonight. I feel blessed by all of us being in here together. I'm going to be out peddling books. Come say hi, grab a book. It tells the long 305-page version of this little thing, minus the music, of course. This song is in that book, though. When I didn't know a God, when I wasn't sure where he was or if I even wanted him, I think he was there. He gave me a gift. Our singer Darius always says, great songs are given to people by God. And in 1989, right before I joined Hootie and the Blowfish, not much of a songwriter myself, but I had a few, I wanted to sing a song about helping each other, lifting each other up, being there for one another, being accountable. I didn't know how to say much. I was immature. I was 25. But I knew holding each other's hands was a way to represent that in words. So I wrote a little song. Sing along if you want. It's called Hold My Hand. I'll send this out to Darius Rucker. I was his greatest vocal influence, obviously. With a little love and some tenderness, we'll walk upon the water, we'll rise above the mess. With a little peace and some harmony, we'll take the world together and take them by the hand. 'Cause I got a hand for you, I wanna run with you. Yesterday I saw you standing there. Your head was down, your eyes were red. No comb had touched your hair. I said, get up, let me see you smile. We'll take a walk together, we'll walk the road a while. 'Cause I got a hand for you, I got a hand for you. I wanna run with you. So come on, hold my hand. Hold my hand. Come on, hold my hand. 'Cause I wanna love you the best I can. Oh yeah. You see, I was wasted, and I was wasting time, till I thought about your problem, and I thought about your crime, and then I stood up, and then I screamed aloud. I don't want to be part of the problem, don't want to be part of the crime. 'Cause I got a hand for you, I got a hand for you, and I want to run with you. Let me run with you and hold my hand. Come on, hold my hand. Hold my hand. 'Cause I want to love you the best I can. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm sure someone's going to come up here and say goodnight. God bless y'all.
Let's keep it going for Jim. I just stole a pic from him. I wish that was intentional, because that would have been real cool. If we could just really quickly just pray for Jim and all of his ambitions as a gift from us to him, if we could just say a quick word of prayer for him. Lord God, we thank you for the light that Jim is. God, there may have been parts in his life where he never thought he would be here tonight, speaking to a bunch of guys in West Des Moines, Iowa. But God, God, grant us the peace when we can't change things. God, give us clear eyes to see ourselves for the ways that we are. Give us strong hearts and strong feet to walk the path in front of us. And God, we pray that for Jim. Thank you for the gift that he is. Thank you for the way that he has walked in these ways. And we know he will continue to do so. But God, I just pray that that his words would land on each and every one of us in the ways that we need to hear it. And I pray that he would know that there's a community out here in central Iowa that appreciates him and that loves him and that's here for him. God, thank you for the way he fills us with hope. So God, help us to take those words to heart and help us to love each other the way that you love us. It's in your good name, Jesus, that we pray. Amen. We have stuff basically every day of the week as far as Men of Hope goes. So if you go to lutheranchurchofhope.org/calendar, you'll be able to find that. And as Jim said, we have Celebrate Recovery here every Thursday evening. I hope to get to see you on a Wednesday morning or some other Men of Hope event, or hope to see you at Celebrate Recovery on Thursday nights. If you have any questions, I'm going to be hanging around. Jim will be selling books out there, we're just super grateful to all the volunteers and things put on tonight. God bless you all. Grace and peace, friends. Go be good to each other. We'll see you later.